Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our podcast. My name is Wayne Elliott. I'm currently the president of the Strauss Naturals Company. I started out a customer, which I'll talk about a little bit later, after a heart attack 37 years ago at age 35. And then the luckiest day of my life at age 40 was meeting the Strauss Heart Drops. So thank you for joining us tonight, taking your time to be with us. Excuse me. I just want to review a few things before we get into the meat and potatoes of things. Some important points, I believe, that I would like to share with everyone. First of all, the Strauss herbal formulas do not contraindicate with any pharmaceutical drugs. So any pills or pharmaceuticals a person might be on, there are no contraindications. In 46 years commercially available, there's not been one complaint to the FDA in the United States, to Health Canada here in Canada, or to the Strauss Company about a serious or harmful effect from someone taking one of the Strauss formulas. So 46 years, we can assume the formulas are safe. One time at a 2-hour lecture, I drank a 1-month supply of Strauss Heart Drops just to show people they had nothing to be afraid of. Now, your pharmaceuticals, on the other hand, it's very important that you follow instructions and dosage properly. But I think maybe the most important thing is to read your paperwork for any pharmaceutical drugs well, and particularly pay attention to any potential harmful effects or serious side effects, so that if you experience any, you'll know to speak to your doctor, and then he or she can do something about it, change your dosage or change you to another drug. But don't not know and be having a serious side effect and leave it like that. Could be in some danger. So they do tell you what they know of all the potential side effects. So you should take the time in your own best interest to review those so that you can monitor how you're doing. With the Strauss formulas, 100% satisfaction guarantee. Strauss does not have dissatisfied customers. And the millions of customers we've had satisfied, they all can't be wrong, of course. Most of the formulas we recommend that you take for 3 to 6 months, depending on your condition, your age, how long maybe that you've had an ailment, various other things, but 3 to 6 months is the normal duration. Now, with some of our products, I'd say most especially the bladder, the prostate for men, and the kidney, or in Canada, as we call it, the kidney blood pressure formula, they all have the nature's strongest antibiotic herb called golden seal root. And golden seal root is a very powerful antibiotic herb. It's in these 3 formulas because bacteria is often the source of trouble in the man's prostate, in a man or woman's bladder, and in our kidney or kidneys, one or both. Bacteria can grow back very quickly in those parts of our body. So we ask when people take those formulas to be diligent, to take the formula 3 times a day. Try not to skip a dose. You can't hurt yourself by taking too much. So if you did miss a dose, take extra on the next dose to make up for that. It not only grows back quickly in these areas of our body, does bacteria, but it can be stubborn. And these parts of our body, for some reason, are more stubborn to accept help, to accept medicine, to accept, I don't know why that is, but it's just a fact. So, and with all 3 formulas, you should experience relief of symptoms within a week. Now, the other side to that coin that worries me is that people will stop taking it thinking that they're all set to go. We ask that you do the job properly and take the formulas for a minimum 3 months and longer if necessary, of course. When it comes to dosage, if you're just wanting to do a good cleanse, a good maintenance, then you would take the minimum dose, which for most of the formulas is 1 milliliter 3 times a day. If you have an issue or serious issue, you're better to take the maximum or towards the maximum dose of 2.5 milliliters 3 times a day. The products are guaranteed. Your satisfaction rather is guaranteed. You are safe, and there's no contraindication with any pharmaceuticals. So, prevention is especially important today with all our genetically modified foods. 93% of what's in our grocery stores is or contains GMOs. This is not natural food. It's the likes of seedless fruits and seedless vegetables. You'd be surprised the natural foods we no longer have, like corn and oranges and wheat. We have many types of wheat. It's just none of it is natural. And on top of that, our soil is depleted. We no longer, for the most part, leave our fields, our crop fields in fallow for a year every 4 or 5 so that they can rejuvenate themselves. So, and there are just so many chemicals in our lives now. They're on our fruit and vegetables: insecticides, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, chemical fertilizers, and then oftentimes chemical preservatives when they ship this product from California to Canada, or the long distances that they ship grapes from South Africa and so forth. So we just have so many chemicals in our lives. Chlorine is in a lot of city water. Plastics are all chemical based, and we're literally drowning in chemicals and plastics in this world. So there's never been a more important time to look after ourselves and pay close attention to our own health. Never a more important time for prevention. I take vitamins and minerals and other supplements, CoQ10 and turmeric, curcumin, and so forth for inflammation. Strauss doesn't make any of those, or vitamins and minerals. Our formulas are not vitamins or minerals, but rather herbal remedies, herbal formulas that with herb ingredients and the synergistic value in these herbs together are really something. The Strauss formulas don't get changed. Some of them are generations old. And as I say, we guarantee your satisfaction. So the heart drops are the one exception. We recommend taking those, the Strauss heart drops. It's our flagship product for a minimum of 1 year. Personally, I'll never stop taking them. I'm taking them, I think, for my 29th or 30th year now. After that heart attack at age 35, once I did find Strauss heart drops and they changed my life, I never wanted to go back to the way I was after that heart attack, and then the high blood pressure, and then the irregular heartbeat. That really bothered me the most, because I felt every raced beat, supraventricular tachycardia I had. And so the Strauss kidney formula, since the heart drops didn't lower my blood pressure, I went on their kidney formula. My blood pressure for decades then was 120/70. It was unbelievable, really. And the arrhythmia, the irregular heartbeat that I had was normal. That changed about 2 years ago when I got myocarditis after COVID, inflammation of the heart. And all I have taken since then as well for that period of myocarditis and since is those same 3 products that helped me so much in the first place 30 years ago: the Strauss heart drops, the kidney formula, and the cardio calm formula, or cardio support, as we call it in the United States. So the heart drops, really, people should stay on them a minimum of a year. So many people stay on what they call maintenance doses. They continue to take the heart drops. But I'd urge and suggest that you consider them for yourself or a loved one. Certainly if you have diabetes, circulation is your biggest challenge. And diabetics can lose their toes, their feet, their legs, their eyesight. It's a very serious ailment. And it is on the rise, largely because of packaged foods and all the sugars and salts that are in everything. People's lifestyle, of course, has something to do with it. If you're not active enough and if you're not eating properly, there's all kinds of reasons that we can be unwell. Anyone who suffered angina, as I did, from blocked arteries and restricted blood flow, enlarged heart, congestive heart failure, if you've had bypass surgery or stents, you must keep in mind we have 50,000 kilometers of vessels in us, each of us. It's a fact, twice around the world in everyone. It is the most important body function, and every single cell in our body, from our hair on our head to our toenails, needs blood. Where we don't have it or where we have too little of it, we will have trouble. It's not just our heart or our brain where we can have a heart attack or a stroke, same as a brain attack from lack of oxygen. That blood carries everything: our oxygen, our food, our medicine, our water, our waste. It's the only transportation system for all those things. So it is the most important body function, and everything seems to work better with the Strauss heart drops to get the medicine, the herbal formula, the food, the water where it wants to go, where it's supposed to go. Every herb in the Strauss formulas is historically proven to be beneficial in one way or another. You could check pubmed.gov and see the countless studies and information about these herbs, the likes of garlic extract, aged garlic extract. They are extensive, and this isn't new. 2/3 of the world is on natural medicine and has been since before North America was discovered by the explorers. So it isn't something new. It's been here forever. Nature put it here for a purpose, all these herbs. There isn't anything on earth that no plant or creature that doesn't have a purpose. I've seldom, if ever, heard anyone say their doctor told them they could stop their medication because they were better. Their blood pressure was better, or whatever the case. The pharmaceuticals primarily really deal with symptoms, and that's why nobody hears you can get off your medication. You're healed. You can stop taking your drugs now. That is just doesn't seem to happen. The natural herbal products is a different story. You don't stay on everything forever. You aren't supposed to need to. You can choose to, as I do with the Strauss heart drops, but 3 to 6 months on these other formulas, a year to 18 months on the Strauss heart drops, and then you may choose to repeat and take a bottle to cleanse a year and a half or two from then. So it isn't something that you're on for life. Diabetics, we do recommend they take heart drops for the rest of their life. You have to drink enough water, of course. As Jim Strauss would say, death starts in the colon, and it's important that we drink enough water. Our sinus relies on it to make mucus. Our lungs are almost 90% water, and the rest of our body is approximately 62% water. So dehydration is a very serious Schedule A disease, and there are, in my opinion, very few people that drink enough water. No good to carry the same bottle around for a day and sip out of it. We're really meant to have. I think the best way to start our day, there's few people that would disagree with this, is a large tumbler or two of warm or room temperature water. If you have some lemon or lemon juice, that's just an excellent thing. Granular vitamin C you could put in there. But that's just the best way to start your day, get your system going. The reason you don't want to do it with cold water is your body has to warm that water to 98.6 degrees before it's of use to our body. So it's always best to start the day with that warm or room temperature water. Is just a great way before anything else, before you eat, before you have coffee. Great way to start the day. Now on to some of the products. I normally always start with the Strauss heart drops, but I'm going to focus first tonight on the Strauss bladder and prostate formulas. Prostate formula for men and the bladder formula for men and women. These are very, very effective formulas. I could tell stories about myself, my father, and so many others. But again, your satisfaction is guaranteed. They're very powerful. The Health Canada a year ago, last August, said that Strauss could claim on the Bladder formula for urinary tract infections. It's just very effective, very strong. That the group of herbs and that golden seal root, the two formulas are almost identical, the prostate and the bladder. And of course, many of the symptoms between what men have with their prostate and women have with their bladder, or men, are also similar, whether it's getting up too many times through the night, urgency to go, going too many times, urinating too many times in a day period. We're really meant to urinate 8 or 9 times every 24 hours. That's normal, that's healthy. So if you're getting up 4 and 5 times through the night, there's something needs to be done about that. I'll just read off the list of herbs. I don't want to forget any of them, so forgive me for reading it. But juniper berry, saw palmetto berry, birch leaf, corn silk, linden flower, nettle leaf, white willow bark, that's nature's pain reliever, golden seal root, and uva ursi leaf. These are all historically known and proven to be beneficial for different things, and I'll just give you a few examples. The juniper berry, helpful in the treatment of prostate disorders, bladder infections, fluid retention, gout, obesity, and asthma. Also alleviates urinary tract problems such as gallstones and urine retention. Salt palmetto berry acts directly on the enlarged prostate to reduce inflammation, pain, throbbing, and swelling. Has been called the plant catheter because of its tonic effect on the neck of the bladder and on the prostate. Studies indicate salt palmetto berry is about 90% effective in treating an enlarged prostate or benign prostate hypertrophy. It's even more effective when used in synergistic blends with other herbs. Golden seal root, as we said, nature's antibiotic, strongest antibiotic herb, helps fight infection and inflammation, cleanses the body, good for disorders affecting the bladder, prostate, stomach, or vagina. Also heals mucous membranes throughout the body. So these are powerful herbs in perfect proportion in these formulas, and you just can't go wrong. One of the issues that with we humans, we seem to have this belief that it will happen to someone else, and we generally carry on our lives and we're healthy and just believe it won't be us. Well, in the case of male prostate, 1 out of every 2 men will have a serious issue after the age of 60. That's 50% of us, 1 out of every 2. No matter which ailment we're talking about, it is easier in all ways to prevent than to fight after we have an issue. Now, again, we guarantee the Strauss heart drops and your satisfaction, regardless of your condition. But it is just a great idea to think about prevention. The saying goes, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And that is no question, that is true. But if you do have an issue, these products are the cat's meow. They work and they're safe. You can continue to take whatever pharmaceuticals you're taking and judge the results on the herbal formulas alone. The Strauss Heart Drops, our flagship product, is a famous product, really. There is nothing like the Strauss Heart Drops. There is no other formula on the market like the Heart Drops. And of course, the Strauss Heart Drops are the original, 46 years ago, commercially available. The herbs, it's not just aged garlic extract. And I see all kinds of advertisements today for capsules of aged garlic extract. Now, don't get me wrong, they're good. They're the first ingredient in Strauss Heart Drops. But there are 7 other important ingredients that Strauss didn't put in there because they weren't needed or to make it sound important. They put them in there for their value and their synergistic work combined with these other herbs. So the herbs in the Strauss Heart Drops include aged garlic extract, what we were just talking about, extract of hawthorn berry and leaves, cayenne pepper, bilberry leaf, motherwort, and white willow bark. European mistletoe as well, I'm sorry. And these, I think that's eight herbs in addition to the aged garlic extract. And as I say, they didn't put these other herbs in there because for any other reason than they were necessary and very effective. So some of the claims being put forward on the just the aged garlic extract capsules, and again, aged garlic extract is great. There's no question about that. But on its own, it isn't as good as this formula with 8 other ingredients. There's no guarantees either that I've heard with the aged garlic capsules. So now the aged garlic helps lower blood pressure and improve circulation. It aids in the treatment of heart disorders and circulatory problems. It helps detoxify the body and protects against infection by enhancing our immune function. The hawthorn dilates the coronary blood vessels, lowers cholesterol levels, and helps restore damaged heart muscle. Useful for anemia, cardiovascular and circulatory disorders, high cholesterol, and lowered immunity. Cayenne helps improve circulation, aids digestion, and helps repair the stomach lining. It acts as a catalyst for other herbs as well. It's good for the heart, kidneys, lungs, pancreas, spleen, and stomach. It's an effective, excellent stimulant and helps lower cholesterol levels in our body. So these herbs in concert together really, and we recommend that you take the Strauss Heart Drops or any of these liquid formulas under the tongue, let them set for a minute under your tongue, and then you can swallow any balance that is left in your mouth. And this way it gets right into your bloodstream and gets to work quicker. That's why all the Strauss formulas these days are liquid formulas. The Strauss cardio support. It's great. I took it first almost 30 years ago for my irregular heartbeat. My supraventricular tachycardia, they called it. It was a 1-beat race. I thought it was skipping a beat. It wasn't. It was racing 1 beat, then leaving a blank spot with no beats. And it drove me crazy because I felt every beat and it never stopped. It never changed. I had that for several years. I went to sleep with it, woke up with it. It really did bother me more than any of the symptoms from my angina, from my clogged arteries, or the high blood pressure, certainly. It was the most annoying and worrisome to me. And of course, it is worrisome to have an irregular heartbeat. They claim those with arrhythmia are 5 times greater risk of a stroke. So it's serious enough, that's for sure. And when I took the cardio support formula, or cardio calm as we call it in Canada, for 3 months, my heartbeat was regular again, and I didn't experience the irregular heartbeat again until I had that myocarditis. And then blood pressure went way up. The irregular heartbeat came back. It was not like the first time. It would just go high and my heart would flutter and so forth. And the only things that I took with that myocarditis, other than my vitamins and minerals and anti-inflammatory curcumin and so forth, was the 3 heart formulas, the Strauss formulas rather, for heart drops, the cardio calm, and the kidney blood pressure formulas. And they're just great in concert together. There are some similar ingredients in the CardioCalm formula as the Strauss Heart Drops. Not a surprise, really. They include hawthorn berries, sarsaparilla root, skullcap herb, peppermint leaf, mistletoe leaf, and hawthorn leaf. And skullcap. We've talked about a couple of these about the heart drops. The skullcap herb helps improve circulation, helps strengthen the heart muscle, and aids with sleep. The peppermint leaf is soothing to the system as well as strengthening the heart muscle. It brings oxygen into the bloodstream. Mistletoe leaf acts on the circulatory system. It increases, then lowers blood pressure. Can also constrict blood vessels and stimulate the heartbeat. Useful for heart disease. So these are, historically proven herbs that are effective in various ways. That leads me to our kidney formula, or kidney support in the United States, kidney blood pressure formula in Canada. And because the heart drops didn't help my blood pressure be lowered, Jim Strauss told me I needed his kidney formula, and that's what I did take for 3 months. And I had that great blood pressure for all those years. Seemed to be regardless of what I did. I've never really slept enough. I sleep about half of what they say you should sleep. I've had my share of stress running a handful of family businesses I started. I didn't eat the best. I was a football player, and I was used to eating a lot. And just because you look okay on the outside doesn't mean that you're okay on the inside. I learned that all too well. The kidney formula, the herbs are as follows: juniper berry, uva ursi leaf, marshmallow root, goldenrod, parsley leaf, ginger root, horsetail, golden seal root, nettle leaf, gravel root, and lobelia. Very extensive formula. Our kidneys are responsible really for filtering, helping take water off our blood, as is our heart, and monitoring or controlling our blood pressure. It's really their primary responsibility lies with our kidneys when it comes to our blood pressure. So it's not surprising that it seems at least half of people's issue with blood pressure is in the kidneys. I'm always amazed with the great diagnostic equipment available today in Western medicine that they cannot tell us whether it's our heart, our kidneys, one kidney, or both the heart and kidneys that are involved in our high blood pressure. They don't know that. So the pharmaceuticals generally beta blockers and so forth try and deal with our blood pressure numbers, really. As I say, it's pretty rare for someone to get off their blood pressure medication and be advised by their doctor to stop. And if you decided yourself that you wanted to reduce or stop your drugs, you'd have to be very careful. And it's with some of these drugs, it is more dangerous, despite the dangers they warn us of in taking the drugs. Some of them are much more dangerous just to quit suddenly. You never want to do that. It can be very dangerous. And so it would be a process. I've been involved in with friends and ex-football players in the past that we've helped. Pardon me, they went on the Strauss formulas for 3 months and then began reducing their drugs. And the one fellow I'm thinking of that lived with me for a year and a half or two, I think it took over a year, and he was off 13 different medications over the course of a year. He also lost 160 pounds. So obesity is another big problem today. And again, it's largely what we're eating, of course. And some of the labeling is very deceiving as well, folks. I was once with Jim Strauss in the grocery store, and I picked up a bottle of low-fat sandwich spread. And he said, "Why are you buying that?" I said, "Well, low fat, nobody in my family needs to gain any weight." And he said, "If you buy that, it'll make you fatter." He said, "Look on the label. They took out fat and they added refined sugar. Your body can deal with some fat, but it can't really deal with that refined sugar." So it's a shame that kind of misleading advertising, if you will, or labeling is allowed. Probably 10 years ago, and the radio announcement from Health Canada said the name of the fast food outlet, a very, very famous one. They actually named them and said that a quarter-pound hamburger patty at that fast food store contained more sodium than a human could tolerate in a day. And I thought to myself, holy moly, there's been many days I ate a lot more than one quarter-pound patty. And they did not make it mandatory to lower the salt. They made it voluntary. And now you'll see on some packaged foods, soups, and so forth, they'll say reduce sodium. Well, oftentimes that sodium, that salt is used as a preservative as well as for flavor, but a preservative. So you'll see sometimes they've lowered the salt by 1%, nothing meaningful. In the case of, I just want to tell this for your own information. My mom, it was her favorite was tomato juice or vegetable juice. And I went to treat myself to a plastic jug of it one time in the store. And I thought, let me look at this. And the particular brand that I was picking up, they called it vegetable juice, had vegetables on the picture, was 27% sodium. So if you drank a quart, you were getting more than a full glass of salt. So I did some research on the different manufacturers and brands of tomato juice and vegetable juice, and they ranged from 20% salt up to 27%. So, I mean, this is, you just don't want to drink too much of that, I'll tell you. And it's a shame. I don't know why they need to put so much. It's very tasty, but we really need to pay attention to these kinds of things, folks. The salt is one of the big causes of high blood pressure. And oftentimes the first thing a doctor will suggest to his patient or a nutritionist is to reduce that, especially table salt. Personally, I use sea salt with everything, the natural salt. I don't believe, and Strauss didn't believe we should get our iodine in our table salt. And you really have to be careful with salt. But the kidney blood pressure formula, very effective, very easy to take. The only side effect that you'd ever experience with any of these formulas, perhaps, is the detoxing effect. You can use the bathroom a little more often from time to time. You can have gas more than usual from time to time. You can stink worse from time to time. And I always say to folks, better out than in. How long would you stay in the kitchen if you never took out the trash? And why is our body any different? Our cars wouldn't continue to run if we didn't change the filters and the oil and sometimes the coolant and the other liquids. Our tractor wouldn't run. Our furnace at home, providing heating or air conditioning, wouldn't run forever if we didn't change the filters. So if you think in those terms, human body is amazing. It's just amazing what we can do to ourselves and survive. But you don't want to just survive. You'd like to thrive and be healthy and feel good. So prevention and cleansing is a very good idea. I personally believe that clean tissues is the best thing that we can have in our body. And these formulas are certainly a good way to get there in the various parts of our body. In the last year, we brought back, they weren't new, but we brought them back in liquid form. Everything must be applied for, even if it's an identical formula that's a tea or a capsule or a liquid, and you try and change it to another form, it needs approval. The health department insists that approval is got for any change, even a change like that, where there really is nothing different, knowing different ingredients in the formula itself. So these were not new formulas, but we brought them back. The one was the Woman's Wonder formula for our ladies, young ladies, and teens that suffer during their menstrual cycle with bloating, cramping. I guess they're the two worst symptoms, excess bleeding. This Woman's Wonder formula is really terrific. It's taken only 3 days a month, and most women don't need to take it longer than 3 months, so 9 days in total. comes in a 100 ml bottle. You take 3 milliliters or 3 droppers full 3 times a day for 3 days. If a female's uh, menstrual cycle is regular, then it's taken the day before the cycle starts and for 2 days during the first 2 days of the menstrual cycle. If a female is not regular, does not know when the cycle will start, well, as soon as it does is day 1 of 3. That would be the first day and then the next 2 days. So 3 droppers full 3 times a day just for those 3 days. And tremendous. We had so many, we did a cross-country tour, talked to hundreds of store managers and owners and staff. And so many of them said that their daughters or some of their young female staff were missing school or missing work a day or two a month because of suffering with the effects of the menstrual cycle. So try the Strauss Woman's Wonder formula. Your satisfaction is guaranteed, and it's a real game changer for our ladies. The Strauss Menopause formula is our most complex formula. There are 20 different herbs in that formula. I'll just read them off quickly. Blue cohosh root, black cohosh root, pennyroyal herb, squaw vine herb, raspberry leaf, cramp bark, uva ursi leaf, valerian root, lady slipper root, ginseng root, ginger root, bayberry bark, lady's mantle herb, saffron flower, periwinkle herb, donkey root, blessed thistle, false unicorn root, sarsaparilla root, damiana leaf, licorice root, and finally lobelia. 20 different herbs. And this formula is to ease, I mean, menopause, it's biology. It can't be cured or avoided, but the hot flashes, the terrible night sweats. I myself went through a few years of night sweats before I found Strauss when I was suffering with angina. And that's the one I couldn't figure out or find an excuse for. No matter what season, I could leave my window cracked open in the wintertime right at the head of my bed. I would still soak the bed every night. So I understand how uncomfortable that is, and getting up to change everything in the middle of the night and so forth. So these horrible night sweats, hot flashes, mood swings, this formula is very, very effective. Just to review what a couple of the ingredients do. The raspberry leaf decreases menstrual bleeding, relaxes the uterine and intestinal spasms, and strengthens uterine walls. It's good for female disorders such as morning sickness, hot flashes, and menstrual cramps. Lady's mantle herb eases the changes of menopause, reduces associated with menstruation as well as excessive bleeding. Donkey root increases the effectiveness of ovarian hormones used in the treatment of female problems such as hot flashes and other menopausal symptoms, premenopausal syndrome, and vaginal dryness. Damiana leaf, used to remedy sexual and hormonal problems, stimulates muscular contraction of the intestinal tract and brings oxygen to the genital area. Also used as an energy tonic and aphrodisiac, as well as a sexual tonic for women. These herbs are proven, again, many of them for centuries, for what they're historically shown and proven to do or help with. And that menopause formula is terrific. It's not that you do have to keep taking it to get these good results, but again, liquid, very easy to take under the tongue. It's painless. It's economical. All these formulas will cost you $1 or so a day to take a formula. And again, very effective. You don't have to suffer to the extent that some of our ladies do suffer with the hot flashes, the night sweats, the mood swings. And this can go on for many years, pre-menopausal, during menopause, post-menopausal. We have ladies in their 70s that are still suffering mood swings and hormonal imbalances and so forth. So very proud to have this product. It is our most complex formula. And you'll find that if you look up these herbs, you'll find that sometimes in this formula, there are two that purport to do the same thing. And I think that happens in 4 or 5 cases of the herbs, that it's duplication, if you will, in terms of what they're known for. Well, Strauss recognized that we are all different. We're like snowflakes. And therefore, we have these differences in us. We're also different ages and different states of condition. And the Strauss wanted to be sure that they could help the great majority of our ladies with this formula. And that's really the reason that there's 20 different herbs in the formula. But again, your satisfaction is guaranteed. You're safe. You cannot be harmed. No contraindication with any pharmaceuticals. There seems to be quite a need, from what we understand from the health stores, that they get quite a few approaches with regards to help with the effects, if you will, of menopause. So before that, the first one that was ready was the Woman's Wonder, and there were apparently quite a number of ladies taking it for help with their menopause, and they were getting some results. As I mentioned, there's some ingredients that are similar to both formulas, but the menopause, when it came out just a few months later, after the Woman's Wonder, so many ladies started on it. So safe, effective, satisfaction guaranteed. You can't go wrong. Our immune products, starting with our Strauss Immune formula, very powerful. Golden seal root is in that formula as well, nature's antibiotic herb. And there are only 3 ingredients, all very powerful: myrrh gum, golden seal root, and cayenne pepper. And very powerful. We really suggest the formula should be taken 10 days at a time. This is not a formula to go on permanently or on your daily routine. When you get under the weather, if you get under the weather, this is a good formula to help you combat whatever it is you're fighting. Very strong formula. It's been around for a long time. Never changed the ingredients. It's always worked well. Another is our Cold Storm, the Strauss Cold Storm formula. I've not taken it. I've not needed it. However, it's a very big selling formula, the Strauss Cold Storm. It's safe for children over 6 years old. And what folks tell us is that some people would say it seemed they had a cold all winter long. Now, whether it was the same cold infection that just never went away, or whether they did continually get cold after cold, often these things move around. They can be more in the upper respiratory. A head cold is an uncomfortable thing. You feel like your head is so full. And so folks tell us that they get relief much faster. In 48 hours, they're not suffering many of the effects of the cold or flu. And so many people told us that they no longer have colds all winter long. They get far fewer colds, and when they do get them and take the formula, or their children do, they seem to be over the effects of the cold and flu quicker. So great selling product, very successful, and so many people use it. Finally, our travel bug formula. It is really for motion sickness. It's very safe. It's very safe. It has 2 ingredients, garlic and ginger. And it is for motion sickness, airplane, boat, car, any motion sickness. Health Canada told us that we could also say that it is good for upper respiratory, this formula. It tastes great. Kids love it. Again, it's safe for kids 6 and older. It will not put your kids to sleep if that's what you're looking to do. The over-the-counter formula that's quite popular, I'm sure we all know the name of, it does knock the kids out, so to speak, and make them sleep. This formula will not do that and is not what it's for. It's to relieve the issues with motion sickness, and as Health Canada states, good for upper respiratory health. The Strauss family had a wonderful understanding of both nature and how everything connects in nature, and with our bodies, how everything connects. It may seem sometimes, if you're being treated for something, you can almost get the impression sometimes that Western medicine doesn't acknowledge that everything connects in our body. They'll tend to treat the most serious issue. And what we found is that oftentimes it's connected because, this blood system and circulatory system through our bodies, there's 9,000 kilometers of nerves in our bodies. Our bodies are very complex pieces of equipment, if you will. It's really quite something what we can survive despite maybe not acting in our best interest with some of our habits, but it truly is something, the strength of the human body. But and the body knows what to do with natural substances. That's very important to note. The body knows what to do. There's nobody out there that has become seriously ill or had a serious harmful effect from eating too many strawberries or peaches or apples or root vegetables or any natural food or anything natural like that. No one has. Your body knows what to do with it. You'll get full. You may even vomit. You'll use the bathroom, but you don't need the hospital or have any serious effects from it because our body does know what to do with natural substances. So there's no worry of overdose. We don't want you to waste your formula or your money, but there's no concern, which is a nice thing not to have to worry about, that some harm could come to you. So the Strausses had this understanding, this wonderful understanding, how everything truly connects. Everything has a purpose. There's nothing in nature that's unimportant or that isn't part of nature's plan. There's no plant that's here for no reason. There's no creature that's here for no reason. Everything has a purpose and everything does connect. So I think that's another reason for the Strauss family's success with these formulas, is that they are effective. They are safe. I also had a problem years ago with heavy metals in my body, and it was from the heavy metal lead, and it was from battery recycling, car batteries, and melting the lead tops and so forth. And when I would say it was probably 6 months on the Strauss heart drops, there was no heavy metals detected in my body any longer. So it appears as well it's very good to cleanse the blood. It makes good sense that it could do that. And most importantly, make blood flow everywhere we have a vessel to carry it, just the way we were created. That's the Strauss heart drops. We've also found, because Strauss heart drops help our bodies get circulation and blood flow everywhere we have a vessel to carry it, all other formulas seem to work just as well or better when taken with the Strauss heart drops. They seem to enhance the effectiveness of other products. And I have to believe it's by virtue of making blood flow everywhere we have vessel to carry it, and carrying the medicine or the food or the water, whatever it is, to and from those parts of our body. So that's why the importance of the Strauss heart drops, and I'm sure they'll always be our flagship product, the number one seller, even though it's a newer formula from 1979 or 80, when Jim Strauss himself had a heart attack. He and his son Peter, they told him at the Vancouver hospital what was wrong. He needed a quadruple bypass or he could die that day, they told him. He took a medical helicopter back to Kamloops. He couldn't lay down nor walk for angina pain, chest pain, and from an easy chair. I've heard the story many times. He and Peter began. They always had herbs. The family had been medicine men for 8 generations. So they had people constantly come from all over to see them, and they would make them herbal formulas and teas and so forth, mixing the herbs. So they always had all the herbs. And Peter was schooled at a young age, Jim's son. But the two of them, in an afternoon with a gram scale and chewing, created the Strauss heart drops. Pete made it into a tincture, and Jim, they didn't know how much Jim should take. So he was taking what we now know to be about a month's supply every day. And in 2.5 weeks, Jim could walk to his mailbox across the street. And in 6.5 weeks, he went back to work for 25 years until he was well into his 80s, and never had a surgery, never had a pill, just like me. I have never taken a pharmaceutical for my heart, and never had the surgery. Have no intention of it, to be honest. I'm quite happy with how I've made out. Otherwise, taking the Strauss formulas and trying to take care of myself a little better, and taking vitamins and minerals and other good things. How we eat is very important. You know, it's kind of like a steel mill or any other metal manufacturing furnace. If you put not good stuff in the top, you're going to get not good stuff out the bottom, you know. So it's really the same for us. They say we are what we eat. So it's really important to try and get enough fruit and vegetables. Do your best to stay away from the seedless vegetables or fruits. It takes a seed to reproduce anything. So these genetically modified plants, seedless plants, cannot reproduce themselves. And anything that can't reproduce has a less than strong immune system. And now we're eating so many of these foods that I'm concerned about we humans and our immune systems when we're not getting the nourishment as nature intended us to have. So it's never a more important time to pay attention to these kinds of things, folks, and pay attention to our health and well-being. I'm just looking to see if there's questions. No, I don't see anything, but if anyone has, just a sec, maybe there is. If anyone has questions, you can turn off your mic and ask them, or write them. Paula will put on my email address, the Strauss contact information for you. And you can email me anytime if you'd like a phone conversation. It's always my pleasure. It's what I love to do. I get great satisfaction of being even some small part of helping people with their health. I take no credit for creating any of these products because I had nothing to do with them. I was a very lucky customer 30 years ago, and I'm grateful to this day. And I really want everyone to have what I got. I didn't go through the pain and suffering of surgery, and I haven't been on the pharmaceuticals for life or any of that kind of thing. And I've enjoyed a good, healthy life. I'm 72 years old now and still raring to go. So I would like everyone to have that and have a happy life and a healthy life and not suffer unnecessarily. So any way we can help you, we're happy to do that. My email is right there for you to see, welliot@straussnaturals.com. And it'd be my pleasure to communicate with you at any time.
Could you briefly go over how heart drops would help a diabetic?
Absolutely. Oops, I just did something wrong here. I'm sorry, I hit the wrong button. Oh boy.
What is it, Wayne?
Can you still hear me there?
We can.
Yes.
Okay. Heart drops and diabetes. And there's some other questions that appears here too, and I'm having trouble getting my screen to, oh, there I go again.
I can read the next question to you. I'm taking
Okay.
heart drops and kidney blood pressure drops. Would you add anything to enhance detoxification?
The only other thing, if you had no other issues, I would recommend is that Strauss cardio support or cardio calm. Health Canada says that we can also claim it as a calmative for anxiety. And now we now know there are quite a number of people that, including one of our own staff, that does take it and has taken it for some time for anxiety. It's the skullcap root and some of the other herbs in that formula that help with that. But I would suggest the other thing that the cardio calm formula is for is irregular heartbeat, and also to help the body rebuild any damaged heart cells or keep the heart cells in good condition. So that's the only other thing that I would suggest if you didn't have any other issues. If you're taking the kidney and the Strauss heart drops now, that would be the only thing I would suggest. To the lady or the person that lady that asked about diabetics and Strauss heart drops, circulation is a diabetic's biggest problem. And that is why they can and do sometimes lose toes, lose their feet, or lose their legs, one leg or both. They can lose their eyesight. That circulation is just so important. I've also learned over all these years that some diabetics suffer quite terribly with pain in their feet. I think is probably the worst. I met a young lady one time outside our local grocery store, God bless her, collecting for Salvation Army at Christmas time. And there she was in a wheelchair. And I struck up a conversation with her, and she was taking, I forget, 8 or 9 Tylenol 3s a day for the pain. And she had lost a number of toes. And it was my pleasure I had a bottle of heart drops in the car and gave it to her and talked to her for a while. And she later at the store, she told the ladies that she buys her heart drops before she pays her rent. They're just very effective to help you avoid some of those very serious problems. Diabetics also have a 4 to 5 times greater chance of heart attack and stroke than do those of us in the population who do not have diabetes. Well, that's a pretty heavy risk factor, and it is all about circulation. So because of what Strauss heart drops, how it helps us with circulation, that's the key for diabetics to take Strauss heart drops. And they are the only group that we strongly recommend stay on heart drops for life. You will know the difference. You will tell the difference. And if you're not satisfied, you just get a full refund. But if you're suffering anything or want to avoid, maybe I should say, suffering anything, the terribly sore feet and so forth, or the risk of losing toes or worse, then I would just urge you to take the Strauss heart drops and avoid all that trouble. I hope that answers your question. Are there any other questions, Paula? I can't see them on my board.
Yes, we do have one more. Would the prostate formula be considered a maintenance dosage similar to how the heart drops can be a maintenance dosage? So would you stay on the prostate drops for life?
Well, you certainly could. And I just to talk about myself again, I'm thinking that I probably will. Now, my dad, he didn't have to, and he, thank goodness, the heart drops. When my dad returned to Boston, when I convinced him to take Strauss heart drops for 3 months, and then returned to Boston because they had wanted him to have a bypass surgery. They did an angioplasty treatment on him, then wanted a bypass surgery. So I convinced him to take the heart drops for, it was 3 or 4 months, and then go back to Boston, and they canceled his open heart surgery. Well, then about 2 years later, my dad told me he had to go back to Boston, but this time for a prostatectomy, to have his prostate removed. And I was shocked because I didn't know he was on any pills or anything. He said he had been for a couple of years, and apparently they didn't work, and now they were going to remove his prostate. So I was able to convince him to give me 3 months, take the prostate formula, then go to Boston. They will tell you if you still need it. And he did just that. My dad lived another 12 or 13 years and died with a healthy prostate. He never had it removed. So, it truly is a great formula. At this point, I'm thinking that I'll probably stay on it. I have shown some weakness myself in terms of flow sometimes. The things I talked about before, but for me, I believe it's more the flow. You should have a decent, strong flow when you urinate. And when a man doesn't, it is a sign of weakness in the prostate. So at this point, my plan is to stay on it. I know it can do nothing but help me. It can't hurt me. And whether I'll stay on it forever, well, remains to be seen. But in any of these formulas, if you did, let's say, stay on the prostate formula, it sure doesn't hurt to take a few weeks or a month off not taking it. But as long as you're having any issues, my goodness, keep taking it. The alternative isn't very pleasant. Prostatectomy, nobody wants that. And given the fact that we'll strike 1 out of every 2 of us is good reason to be very serious about our prostate.
Could I share a very brief story about heart drops?
I'm sorry?
Could I share a brief story about heart drops?
Absolutely. Please do.
Several years ago, I went to the doctor, and I was about 73 at the time, and the doctor told me I was getting plaque building up in the arteries and veins. So I quickly turned to heart drops for the next year. When I went back a year later, the doctor made a special phone call to me saying I made a remarkable turnaround for clearing out the plaque in the arteries and veins because I took the heart drops.
Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And it was painless for you. I mean, I love to hear that. And it's fully half my incentive to continue doing this is that I just love it. There's nothing so rewarding as I've never met you and probably never will, but I still feel the great rewards that you were helped with our formula. So good for you. I don't know if you continue to take them, but I know I'm not going to stop taking the heart drops. I had something come back on me when I got lazy after a few years, and it turned out my carotid arteries up the side of my neck, which is what when you have enough blood restricted or blood flow restricted there, it can give us a stroke. And my eyes went funny one night. I was in Cleveland with my wife for her family reunion, and it was very uncomfortable, what happened to my eyes. We went straight back to my wife's home, and I went to bed, and I had to close my eyes because it kept doing this, jigging back and forth. So I did go to the doctor. I had a vascular ultrasound, and my carotid arteries were blocked between 50 and 60%. And in the 7 months it took me to see a vascular surgeon, not that I had planned on the surgery, I didn't, but I did want to hear what he would say. But in the 7 months, I really increased my Strauss heart drop intake. And when I went for my appointment, they sent me for a vascular ultrasound first. And then I saw the doctor right afterward. And I asked him, Doc, what would you do to me if I let you? And he said, nothing. And I said, what do you mean nothing? He said, well, you have less than a 25% blockage. There isn't anything that we do. It's normal at your age. So, I guess I was lucky. My eyes went funny that night and had me get more diligent and take the heart drops as I should have been. But I was grateful to avoid that, I can assure you. So I love these stories. Thank you for sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
Anyone else have anything or any questions? And as well, you've got my email address there, so don't hesitate if you wanted to communicate privately or you wanted a telephone conversation, I will get to you. Otherwise, thank you very much for spending your time with us this evening. It's always a great pleasure, and we do so appreciate you taking your time to be with us, and you're welcome to come back. We do this for the public the third Tuesday of every month, both at 12 noon Eastern Time and 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And you are welcome to come anytime you like. It's always our pleasure to have you. And I hope you got something from tonight's podcast. And I hope that you'll give it to yourself with any of these formulas that you or a loved one might need. And I promise you won't be sorry. You have the buck stops here, folks. If there's anything wrong or you have a problem, it's all my fault. So I'm the guy to call and complain to. And I hope that doesn't happen, but I just want you to get what I got. So thank you all. Thank you for your nice comments. And I hope to see you next time. Thanks, Paula. Have a good rest of the night.